Okay, so coming back to our discussion. So yesterday we have seen what is the diagram? Yeah. So yesterday we have, I mean, in the last class we have discussed it regarding an actual transformer. Okay, so under no load condition, we have seen what are the losses that are present in a transformer. That means the core losses we have seen. According to that, how your phasor diagram is getting modified. Okay, and because of the resistance drop in the primary winding, we have seen this IE into R1 term has come. Because of the leakage flux, we have got one more term which is J into excitation current IE into X1. Okay, so from KVL point of view, the source voltage is equals to phasor addition of all the three voltages. That means EMF induced, voltage drop due to resistance, and voltage drop due to leakage reactance. Right. So this is what we have seen, and finally we observed the equation from the primary side is source voltage V1 phasor is equals to E1 plus IE into R1 plus J into X1. Right. So R1 and X1 represents the resistance and leakage reactance in the primary winding, and Z1 is R1 plus JX1, which is nothing but leakage impedance of the primary winding. Right. So this is what we have seen in the previous class. Right. So now we will see what will be the scenario if load is connected. Right. Actual transformer under no load we have seen. So once the load is connected, what should happen? Right. If you see here, we have already discussed for an ideal transformer. So secondary terminal voltage V2 will be there, and if you are assuming an inductive nature load connected across the secondary terminals, you will have a secondary current I2, right, with a phase angle lag of theta 2. Okay, so according to I2, you should have one more extra component of current on the primary side, which is called as load component of primary current and denoted as I1 dash. We have already discussed this, right? Now the total primary current will be the phasor addition of I1 dash and excitation current IE. So that will be your I1. Correct na? So accordingly you will have a voltage drop I1 into R1 and J into I1 into, sorry, I think it should be X1 here, I have written wrong. You are understanding na? This is I1 into R1, which is the voltage drop in the primary winding because of resistance, and J into I1 into X1 should be there here. It's my mistake. Okay, right. So that will be the leakage impedance drop. Okay, leakage, I mean, because of the inductive nature, leakage impedance, right? So this will be total V1. Okay, we'll see that. So actual transformer phasor diagram under inductive load. Okay, the secondary circuit is considered first for drawing the phasor transformer phasor diagram under inductive load. Okay, if you are assuming a lagging power factor load, then I2 lags V2 by an angle of theta 2. Right, that's what we have shown here. This is your terminal voltage V2. Terminal voltage means voltage across the load terminals. Okay, E2 is the voltage across your winding on the secondary side. You understanding, no? So E2 is the voltage across the secondary winding on the secondary side. That means EMF induced in the secondary winding. Right. But V2 is the voltage across the load terminals. Right. In between these two, you will have resistance and reactance drop. Okay. Right. So the load angle is, I mean, load power factor angle is theta 2. Obviously, the secondary winding will have a resistance. So I am denoting that with R2. So when secondary current is flowing, you will have some drop in the secondary winding because of this resistance. So R2 into I2 is the secondary voltage drop due to resistance R2. Okay. Similar to primary case, here also there will be a leakage flux. Okay. Right. Because MMF is generated, which is N2 into I2, and some leakage flux will be there, which is linking only the secondary winding. Okay. Clear. So the mutual flux is the one which is linking both the primary and secondary windings, and the leakage flux phi L1 will link only the primary winding. Because of that, you will have an voltage drop term which is called as reactive drop. Similarly, phi L2 will also, is the leakage flux in the secondary winding, right? So phi L2 will also be in phase with secondary current I2, right, as shown here. So phi L2 will be in phase with secondary current I2. Okay. Right. So and EMF EX2 due to phi L2 will lag it by 90 degrees. Similar to this case, mutual flux phi is linking the secondary winding. That means it is inducing an EMF E2, which is lagging flux phi by 90 degrees. That's why you have got E2 here. Right. Now the leakage flux phi L2 will also have develop a voltage which should lag phi L2 by 90 degrees. That means it should come somewhere here. I have not shown it, but it should come somewhere here. Correct na? 90 degrees lagging with respect to phi L2 means it should be here. Right. So that phasor will be EX2. You are understanding, right? E2 is lagging phi by 90 degrees. Similarly, EX2 is a component which should lag phi L2 by an angle of 90 degrees. That means it should be somewhere here. Okay, right. But this EX2 is also, if you want to consider it as a voltage drop in the direction of secondary current, it should be in this direction, opposite to what we are getting. So EX2 should be here. Therefore, the secondary induced EMF E2 must have a component plus J into I2 and X2, which is equal and opposite to EX2. So that should be here. You are understanding or not?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, EX2 equal to minus J I2 X2. Why, sir, minus?
Okay. So EX2 is some voltage drop. You are clear, na? Right. If this is the phi flux phi, with respect to phi, you have got E2 here. E2 is a phasor here, which is 90 degrees lagging. Okay. Similarly, if phi L2 is here, that means secondary current I2 in phase with phi L2. How phi has created a voltage drop which is 90 degrees lagging. Similarly, your flux phi L2 will also produce a voltage which will be in this direction. Here it is lagging now, so similarly it should also lag here. Okay, right. If you want to represent that voltage in terms of secondary current I2, right? So where it should have a minus sign, na? Because it is a reactive term. You are understanding or not? How it is 90 degrees lagging, similarly you will have here. Okay, so with respect to secondary current I2, it is lagging minus 90 because plus 90 represents rotational vector in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, that means in this fashion. But if it is projected here, then it should be a minus sign. Plus J represents plus 90 degrees. Minus J represents minus 90 degrees. That means with respect to I2, it will be projected here. That means I want to represent the voltage drop in terms of secondary current I2. Secondary current I2 phasor is already known to me. It is in this direction. Okay, the voltage drop because of the flux phi L2 will be lagging this flux phi L2 by 90 degrees, and flux phi L2 is in phase with IE with I2. So with respect to I2, this induced EMF should also lag by 90 degrees. How I can represent lag 90 degrees? If I represent at J indicates plus 90 degrees in the forward direction. Minus J indicates minus 90 degrees. That means in this direction. You got it or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. You are able to understand now, because J, if you have, I have given a phasor phi here. Okay. I want to represent E2 in terms of phi means, okay, some constant will be there. I mean, phi related to E2, some constant will be there. But the projection of the phasor, if you want to represent, you should add J. So J represents rotation of the vector, that will be rotation of the phasor in anti-clockwise direction by 90 degrees. Okay. You are understanding, na? Okay. If you see here, I2 into R2, there is no J here. Why? Because I1 and R1 are in phase. They are parallel. Right. But with respect to I1, this drop will be 90 degrees in this direction. So how I have represented 90 degrees? Simply I added J. That means to the existing phasor, if I add J, that means I am shifting the phasor by 90 degrees in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay. Clear. But in the present scenario, phi L2 is here, and I know the induced EMF with respect to because of phi L2 will be 90 degrees lagging, because same principle, how phi has created here E2, similarly this fellow also will create some voltage in this direction. Okay, how I can represent that voltage, whatever may be the voltage, some x value, let's say, how I can represent that voltage in terms of I2? I have to multiply with minus J. If I multiply with plus J, it will be here. If I multiply with minus J, it will be here. Got it? You are understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I mean, next point, if you understood this, the next point also you will understand. So minus J will be projected here, and you know E2 is a voltage generated, because if you see in the expression, we have taken minus n d5 by dt, considering that E2 is the voltage source. Okay. Similarly, flux phi L2, which is given as minus J into I2 x2, will also be a voltage source. If you want to convert into a voltage drop, you have to multiply with minus sign. So minus of minus will become plus. Or you are understanding, na? Is it clear that how you got this expression or not? Ex2 is equals to minus J into I2 into x2.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear
Yes,
to
sir.
everyone? If you know the phasors, then it will be very clear, because phi L2 is generating some voltage. Okay. And how phi has generated E2, which is lagging phi by 90 degrees. Similarly, phi L2 will generate some voltage which will lag phi L2 by 90 degrees. Something which is lagging, I want to represent in terms of phasor, I should multiply with minus J. Okay. Because here phi is reference, with respect to phi minus 90 I placed here. With respect to phi L2, minus 90 will be somewhere here. Okay. If I want to represent that in terms of mathematical form, I should multiply with minus J. Okay, that means the vector is in this position. If I2 has some, let's say 30 degrees lagging, so minus J I2 will be 30 minus 90. So whatever value you get. Okay, so that will be here. Okay. Is it clear
Sir?
to everyone? How you got minus J into x2?
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, if you can, then sir, can you please once summarize all those EMFs and fluxes with the process starting from just connecting the battery, and this is the flux phi, and sir, just like that. Sir, I think that's creating much confusion, because
Okay.
we are seeing every variable together.
Okay. So that's why I actually brought everything in steps from starting. Okay. But anyway. Okay, I will not go more detail, but I will explain the phasor
No, sir,
diagram.
that diagram only. That diagram only.
In this diagram only.
Yes, sir. That diagram, every variable of that diagram
Okay.
from process with process. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let's see first from the primary side. Okay, and then we'll see the secondary. Okay. Right. So in a transformer, when you give a source voltage V1, okay, so there will be a flux, and the current is flowing in the primary winding, which is called as excitation current IE. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
there is a magnetomotive force. Magnetomotive force is nothing but some current into number of turns. Okay. Since primary is connected to a voltage source, some current is flowing. Let's say that is excitation current. Okay. So the excitation current will flow in your winding even though the secondary is open circuited. Okay. It's immaterial whether secondary is connected to some load or not. Okay. So that is called as excitation current. The job of this excitation current is to produce flux in the core. Okay. And supply if there are any core losses. Okay. So the job of excitation current is to, because only the core is the load on your electrical circuit, because secondary is open. So the core, magnetic core, can be considered as some kind of load on your primary circuit. Okay. So accordingly, based on the dimension of the core, some excitation current will be flowing in the primary winding, because from source it is getting drawn from the source because of the winding, because of the core. Okay. So the job of excitation current is to produce flux in the core, at the same time supply if there are any core losses in the core. Okay. That is the job of this
Yes, sir.
excitation current. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when excitation current is flowing, and obviously some number of turns are there, which is nothing but N1. So when N1 into IE gets multiplied, you call it as magnetomotive force. Okay. Right. That
Yes, sir.
magnetomotive force divided by the reluctance of the core. Okay. Reluctance depends upon the physical properties of the core. Okay. That if you divide by reluctance, you will get some flux phi. So that is called as mutual flux phi. It is shown here. Okay. So that is mutual flux phi. This mutual flux phi is going in the core and linking your primary winding, and at the same time it is linking your secondary winding. Okay. Right. So we have seen, because of Faraday's law, we have seen the two induced EMFs, and that induced EMF on the primary side, we denoted it as E1. Okay. And this E1 is considered as the voltage drop in the direction of the primary current or excitation current. That's why we have got it 90 degrees leading with respect to phi. So this is called as primary induced EMF, or primary voltage drop in the direction of excitation current. That is E1. And E2 we have seen minus N2 into d phi by dt, which is called as secondary induced EMF. Secondary induced EMF because of transformer action. Okay, so this is considered as a source, and it is seen 90 degrees lagging with respect to phi. Okay, so you have seen E1, phi, IE, and I2. Okay, if there is a secondary current I2, the job of this fellow I2 is to reduce the flux in the core. Okay, because the direction of I2 will be such that it will reduce the main flux. Okay, but since the voltage is connected, which is a fixed voltage coming from the grid, 230 volts. Okay, right. So if it is trying to reduce the flux, accordingly, some extra current will be drawn from the primary side. Okay, which is called as load component of primary current. Okay, so whenever I2 is flowing, automatically I1 dash will be drawn from the primary side. Okay, so this I1 dash is called as load component of primary current, because this fellow will come into picture only when the load is connected. Okay, so that is called as I1 dash. Okay, this I1 dash added in phasor addition to already existing excitation current IE. Okay, right. So the phasor addition of I1 dash and IE is called as primary current I1. Right. So that is shown here. Okay. When the primary current is flowing in an actual transformer, Since it's a winding, there will be some amount of resistance. So when resistance is there and current is flowing, some amount of voltage drop across the resistance should be there. So that voltage drop is I1 into R1. It will be in phase with your current I1, because if you consider a resistive load, this is the voltage and this is the current. Current flowing through the resistor is I1 and voltage across the resistor is I1 into R1. These two should be in phase because the power factor angle is unity for a resistive nature load. Even in that point, if you think, they should be in phase. Okay, so that's why I1 dash into R1 and I1 are parallel to each other. Okay, next term is leakage flux phi L1, which is coming into picture because some amount of flux is closing its circuit by flowing through the air and it is linking only the primary winding. Okay, right. So the voltage generated because of this leakage flux will be 90 degrees leading. Okay, how E1 is leading phi by 90 degrees. Similarly, the voltage drop created because of flux phi L1 will also be leading flux phi L1 by 90 degrees. Since flux phi L1 is in phase with I1, so it should lead I1 by 90 degrees. Okay, so since it's leading, I should multiply with plus J. Okay, right. So plus J indicates 1 at an angle of 90 degrees. If you see in terms of phasor, when you convert into polar form, J1 is equals to 1 at an angle of 90 degrees in the polar form. Okay, so I am multiplying with J1, the voltage drop. Okay, please remember it is not R1, it should be X1 here. Okay, accidentally I have written R1. Okay, so plus J into I1 into X1 is an extra drop in the primary winding. So total voltage V1 applied at the source will be a phasor addition of E1 I1 into R1 plus J into I1 into X1. Okay, so that is the total voltage on the primary side. If you apply KVL, you are going to get that expression. Okay, right. So on the secondary side, if the load is connected, obviously secondary current I2 will be flowing. It is shown here, and we have assumed an inductive nature load. That's why V2 is here and I2 is lagging V2 by an angle of theta 2. Okay, right. So since secondary winding has some resistance R2, okay, obviously some voltage drop should be there. Okay, and that voltage, since it's a resistance, it will be in phase with I2. So here you have got already I2. So parallel to I2, you will have I2 into R2 drop. Okay, I2 into R2 here, parallel to I2. Okay, so the next term is the voltage which was coming into picture because of the leakage flux phi L2. Okay, how phi has created an EMF E2 that is lagging phi by 90 degrees. What is this voltage E2? It is a voltage source. We have derived E2 considering as a voltage source or a voltage drop. That you say me first. We have developed E2 expression considering it as a voltage source or voltage drop.
Voltage source.
Voltage source.
Voltage source. That's why you have used minus sign. Similarly, for flux phi L2, if you consider minus sign, then you will get a voltage which will be considered as a voltage source in this direction. How E2 has come 90 degrees lagging. Similarly, you will have an expression which is here. That is a voltage source again, minus J into I2 into X2. That will fall here. But if I want to apply KVL, okay, all the sources, okay, right, you are understanding now, KVL across the secondary loop should be equals to 0. Okay, so if you want to convert into as a voltage drop, it should be projected here, minus of what you have got.
Sir,
That will be a voltage drop. So that's why you have got plus J into I2 into X2, which is considered as a voltage drop in the direction of secondary current I2. You are understanding, na?
sir, what is the difference between V2 bar and E2 bar?
Which one? V2 bar?
Sir, V2 bar and E2 bar.
V2 bar and E2 bar. Okay. V2 bar is the voltage across the load terminals. Okay.
Yes, sir.
E2 bar is the voltage across the secondary winding. That means
Yes, sir.
after the secondary winding, you will have resistance drop. Okay. Because winding will have resistance now. I mean, the length of the wire which was after, because immediately after the winding terminals, you will not connect now. Winding will be
Yes,
inside
sir.
your transformer. From that transformer, you have to bring the wire outside your transformer, and you have to take it to the load point. Load point means maybe at least from 1 or 2 meters away from the load point. Okay, at least. Okay, so that length of the wire will have some amount of resistance, right? So that drop is considered as I2 into R2. Okay,
Yes, sir.
you are understanding na? So let's say
Yes,
you are
sir.
in an apartment or you are in a flat, so you will have a common transformer at the ground floor of your flat. So you will have some 10-15 flats within that apartment. Okay, right? So the resistance from the transformer secondary to your meter board in your house, okay, that cable will be there, right?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so something like that. Okay, usually it will not, if it's very far we will not consider that, but it will be some resistance within the transformer winding. Okay, at least to come out of the transformer secondary terminal, because winding will be placed within the transformer. After the transformer, to come to reach to the output of the transformer. Okay, it's not like
Yes,
your
sir.
entire length. Okay, transformer will have winding. After that you will have some protective equipment. After that protective equipment you will have transformer casing is what you can see from externally. Okay, so after that casing, what is coming to you, that is called as load point. You're understanding, right?
Yes, sir. And sir, second thing, sir, why, sir, will always phi L2 will be in phase with I2
Okay,
and phi L1 in I1?
right. Because if you see phi L1, okay, here it is there, right?
Yes, sir.
If you see here, excitation current IE is here. Okay, and this previously it is only the excitation current when I1 I2 is not there. Okay, right.
Yes,
But
sir.
now when I2 is coming into picture, you have got phi I1 dash. Okay, I1 dash is also coming into picture. Okay, right. So this
Yes,
I1 is
sir.
coming because of I2, but the net current in the primary is the addition of these two, I1 dash and IE. Okay, right. There is from our analysis point of view, we are saying that IE is some quantity and I1 dash is some other quantity which is coming from the primary winding. Okay, but both are coming from the primary winding only. IE is flowing in the primary winding. I1 dash is also flowing in the primary winding. Okay, right. For our understanding, we are resolving into IE dash and I1. But for transformer point of view, it is only I1. Okay. When the load
Yes,
is
sir.
not there, I1 dash is not there, I1 is equals to IE. You are understanding? When
Yes,
there
sir.
is no load on the secondary, I1 dash will be equals to 0, I1 is equals to IE. Okay. So I1 is the current which is actually flowing in the primary winding. If load is not there, that I1 is equals to IE. Okay. So in that scenario, your flux phi L1 will be in phase with IE. Okay. If you think in the other way, right? Why this phase angle came here between IE and phi?
The histories.
Sir,
Because of
because,
hysteresis loop,
yes, sir.
because of the transformer magnetic core. Okay, right.
Yes,
Where
sir.
the flux phi L2, where it is flowing, that you say? Flux phi L2.
Sir, what you asked me? Where the?
How flux phi L2 is completing its circuit? Flux phi is completing its circuit through the magnetic core. Flux
Yes,
phi
sir.
L1 is completing its circuit through which path? Through which path?
Sir, in secondary coil.
No, flux phi L1. flux phi L1 is completing its circuit through the air. Mostly it is through the air. Okay.
Yes, sir.
This part is flowing in the core, but this is the most air. Okay. So and is completing its circuit through the air. Air is somewhat which is I mean not a magnetic material. Okay. That means the current, I mean flux carrying capacity or flux conduction capacity is more for a core material, but air will not have that much flux carrying capacity. Okay, so it will offer, I mean, very high opposition to the flow of flux. Okay, so that means it is somewhat similar to a very high reluctance. You're understanding, na?
Yes, sir.
That means in an electrical circuit, how resistance will offer opposition to the flow of current, air will offer very high reluctance to the flow of flux. Okay, right.
Yes, sir.
So the magnetic circuit for flux phi L2 is mostly the air. Okay, and air is somewhat similar to your resistance. Okay, okay. So that means it will be, I mean, in phase with air, because how in an electrical circuit resistance will offer unity power factor, similar to that this flux air will offer a very high reluctance to the flow of flux. Okay, so that's why flux phi L will be in phase with current I1. You are understanding now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, alpha is coming because of relation between IE and phi. It shows the relation between IE and phi because it's a magnetic circuit. But for air, it will be very high reluctance, and very high reluctance means it will be actually in phase with excitation current IE only. Okay, right. How resistance offers very high reluctance to flow of current, similarly air offer very high reluctance to flow of flux. Okay, okay. So it is
Yes,
analog
sir.
to resistance. That's why it will be in phase with IE. Okay, right. So that's why phi L1 will be in phase with I1 and phi L2 will also be in phase with I2. Got it. So coming to the voltages in the secondary side, V2 is the voltage at the load terminal. Okay, load terminals means after the transformer output point. Okay, so between V2 and between V2 and E2. Okay, the EMF induced at the winding. If you see here, right. So this is considered as E2, EMF induced in the secondary winding. But V2 is the voltage across the load terminal. Okay, that means after this winding resistance will have some amount of resistance now, so that resistance will be taken into consideration, and the leakage flux which is happening in the winding. Okay, so that is also creating some amount of drop. Okay, okay. It's a fictitious quantity. We have already seen x2 is called as a fictitious quantity. It is not a physical parameter. It is coming into existence because of the leakage flux which is circulating within the air in this path. Okay, so that we are trying to bring in terms of an electrical parameter. So that's why x2 has come into picture. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So that's why we have got x2, and x2 is called as a secondary leakage reactance. So J into I2 into x2 will be the drop in the direction of secondary current I2. You are getting it? The only thing is you might have confusion here and confusion here. Okay, this is coming because of leakage flux phi L2. How E2 is lagging phi by 90 degrees. Similarly, EX2 will be a phasor here, which will lag phi L2 by an angle of 90 degrees. And remember, E2 is a voltage source, minus ND phi by dt. Similarly, EX2 is a voltage source. If I want to convert it into a voltage drop, I should multiply with minus sign. Okay, so if I multiply with minus sign, it will come in this direction, which is nothing but this thing. Okay, right. So that's why you have I2 R2 drop and plus J into I2 X2 drop in the secondary winding. So E2, which is the voltage immediately across the secondary terminals, is the phasor addition of resistance drop, reactance drop, and the voltage at the load terminals. Okay, so E2 is equals to V2 plus I2 into R2 plus J into X2. If you talk in terms of terminology, E2 is called as secondary induced EMF. V2 is called as secondary terminal voltage. Okay, this is called as terminal voltage. This is called as induced EMF. Okay, R2 and X2 are secondary resistance, secondary winding resistance, and secondary winding leakage reactance. Z2 is called as secondary leakage or secondary impedance, secondary winding impedance. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yeah, any doubt?
no, sir. Sir, in similar way, can we say for E1 and V1, I1?
E1, V1, A1. That's what we told already here.
Yes, sir. At the last, we wrote one equation, no, sir. E2 equals to V2 plus I2 bar times R2 plus JX2. In the same way, can we write for E1?
Not E1. You should write it for V1
Yes, sir.
because V1 is the source coming from the source extreme left. After that, you have resistance and reactance drop. After that, you are going to get E1. E1 is the voltage across the primary winding. Okay, so that's what we have written in the previous slide. I mean here, V1
sir,
is equals to E1 plus I1 into R1 plus J into X1. Remember, these all are phasors. Okay, they are not like simple mathematical addition. Okay, so E1 can have some phase angles. Accordingly, you can have I1 also can have some phase angle. Right. So this is for V1 is equals to E1 plus I1 into R1 plus J into X1. We have seen in the previous class. So for this, E2 is equals to V2 plus I2 into R2 plus J into X2. Okay. So if you are getting confused, finally, what is the conclusion is, at the extreme left, you have a voltage source V1 that is equals to the phasor addition of E1 and I1 R1 plus J into I1 X1. Okay. Why means primary winding will create some resistance drop and primary winding will also create some amount of leakage reactance drop. Okay, so those two are here. Okay, so V1 is equals to phasor addition of V1 plus I1 into R1 plus J into I1 into X1. Okay, similarly, if you start at the secondary winding terminal, E2 is the one which was generated immediately after your core. Okay, in the secondary winding. So E2 is a voltage source. After that, everything should be a drop. Okay, right. So V2 is the voltage at the load terminals, and next is I2 into R2, voltage drop because of resistance, plus J into I2 into X2 is the voltage drop in the secondary winding because of leakage reactance. Okay, so plus J into I2 into X2. Right. So E2 immediately after the secondary winding terminals is the phasor addition of V2 plus I2 into R2 plus J into I2 into X2. Okay. Yeah, that's what is written here. Hope you got it. Right. Any doubt is there, you can ask me.
Sir, in reality, in primary winding, I1 net current is flowing, na?
Yeah,
I1 bar.
I1 bar.
Yes,
No,
sir.
no, in primary winding, not I1. Yeah, I1 bar, this one.
Uh,
Yeah, I1,
yes,
I1
sir.
bar. In reality, I1 bar is flowing.
Yes, sir.
Actually, transformer does know all these terminologies. It is simply when the load is connected, some current will flow through the primary, that's all. For our understanding, for our analysis, we are breaking into two stages. One is when the load is not connected, what is going to happen. When the load is connected, what is going to happen. This is for our understanding only. Okay. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So we have
before we talk to that, I1, IE for ideal transformer would be 0, no, sir?
IE for an ideal transformer is never 0.
Sir, in
We have
slide,
said that IE will be in phase with phi. Okay, IE will be in phase with phi. IE magnitude is not equals to 0. That alpha, what is shown here, right?
Okay, sir.
This alpha is equals to 0. Okay, because alpha depends upon the core losses. Since for an ideal transformer we have assumed the core losses are equals to 0, that's why you have seen IE in phase with phi. Okay, right.
Yes,
So
sir.
IE is coming because of the core in the transformer. When you connect the core, some current will flow, that's all, from the primary side. That is called IE. Okay.
Yes, sir. Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, then I never will be 0.
IE will never be 0, even for an ideal transformer. Okay. Because the job of IE is to, if you resolve IE into two parts, one is IC and another one is IM. Out of these two, which one will supply core losses? You say me that?
Sir,
One is IC, another one is IM. Which one will supply core losses?
I see.
Okay. So for an ideal transformer, we have assumed core loss is equals to 0. Then IC, which should be in phase with IE, is equals to 0. Correct na?
Yes, sir.
When IC is equals to 0, obviously this IE will be falling on this x-axis straight away. Correct na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's why IE has fallen in phase with phi for an ideal transformer. When you are considering core losses, that means you are not considering an ideal transformer, you are considering a core losses. Then IC component has come into picture, which will be in phase with IE, and IE should be in, is the phasor addition of IC and IM. So obviously you are getting somewhere in the first quadrant. Got it?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. So if you see in terms of primary side for this one, I1 is again I1 dash plus IE, right? So that is shown here, and the primary voltage V1 is equals to E1 plus I1 into R1 plus J into X1, which is E1 plus I1 into Z1. Okay, so this expression is we have already seen, right? So when current I2 is flowing, I1 dash will be there. If I2 is not flowing, I1 dash will be 0, and I1 will be equal to IE. That's all, right? So finally, the conclusion is V1 is a phasor addition of this E1 and I1 R1 plus J into X1 into I1. Similarly, on the secondary side, if you see, E2 is equals to V2 plus I2 into R2 plus J into X2. These are the two main equations. This one, what you are seeing on the screen, and this one. This is for the secondary winding, right? And this is for the primary thing. So these two are the final equations which you should remember and which is important. Got it? Right. So that means this equation determines is a circuit for the secondary winding. This is the equation. Okay. Electrical equation for secondary circuit, for the primary circuit. Right. For the, yeah.
Sir, is it true that for that circuits in which we consider inductors, if they are ideal, then we take I equal to 0?
What is your question for an ideal transformer?
Sir, transformer not ideal, then I1 dash should be equal to 0. Then I1 bar should be equal to E bar itself.
And you are talking about load or you are talking about reactance?
Sir, inductor. I1 bar was sir. I mean winding side of primary winding side.
Yeah, primary winding side, there is no actually an inductor. Physical inductor is not there. Right.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It
sir.
is only the leakage flux phi L1. Okay. That leakage flux is generating a voltage drop. Okay. That voltage drop from the phasor diagram, it was observed to be leading the current I1 by 90 degrees. This voltage drop is observed to lead the current I1 flowing in the primary degrees by 90 degrees. For an inductor, the same thing will happen, right? For an inductor, voltage will lead and current will lag. Okay. Since the phasor is coming in this direction and it is equivalent to an inductive nature. That's why we are denoting it as X1 and calling it as primary leakage reactance. It is not a physical inductor what we are placing. The flux phi L1 has created this kind of situation for us, and we want to represent in terms of an electrical parameter. So that's why it has come as plus J into I1 into X1. It is not R1 here, it should be X1. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You're understanding? So there is no physical
sir.
inductor we are actually connecting. The impact of
Yes,
leakage
sir.
flux has created this term. That's all.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is regarding your primary and secondary winding circuits and the corresponding equations, voltage generated and resistance and leakage reactance drops. Okay. So transformer rating. So generally, for a motor, if you see on the nameplate details, some rating will be given. So what is the unit they will usually mention if you want to purchase a motor for your household? So what you will ask at the store? You have any idea? Let's say I have asked.
Sir, how much horsepower?
We will ask how many watts.
How many watts? Okay, right. So we'll ask horsepower, half HP, or in terms of watts also you can say HP to watts you can convert, right? So you'll have to ask in terms of watts. Remaining things are fixed because voltage 230 volts that is already known. Okay, and frequency is 50 hertz in India, that is already known. That means in an induction motor or any motor, they will give nameplate details. That means there will be a details which were written on the motor. Okay, so they will mention the horsepower or power in watts. Okay, and next frequency they will mention whether it's single phase or three phase they will mention, and to what voltage it can withstand also they will mention. Okay, so the voltage, power, frequency, and number of phases, these are the four informations which will be given on a motor. Okay, right. Similarly, for a transformer, the typical nameplate details of a single phase transformer is as follows. Okay, so they will give you the kVA rating and turns ratio or E1 by E2 ratio. This is called as E1 by E2 ratio. Okay, so they will mention like that. Let's say this here it is 3300 by 220 volts. Okay, and frequency 50 hertz. So these three information they will give you for a single phase. If it's a three phase, they obviously they have to mention number of phases also. Okay, so they will give the rating in terms of kVA, not in kilowatts. Okay, right. Here 20 kVA is a rated output at the secondary terminals. That means if you connect around this much voltage, 3300 volts on the primary side, okay, and it will give you an output kVA of 20 kilo kVA. Okay, so 20 kVA is the output apparent power that you can expect at the secondary terminals. That's what it means. Okay. Similarly, in the case of a motor, if you say half HP or 500 watts motor, 500 watts is the power at the output you can get. That's what it means. Okay. So 20 kVA is the output apparent power which is available at the secondary terminals of your transformer. Okay. That's what it means. Okay. So what I am trying to say here is transformer rating is in kVA, not in kilowatts. Okay, so you should understand that most of the machines always it will be in kilowatts, but for transformer alone it will be in kVA. Okay,
Sir,
why it is in
definitely.
kVA? Why not in kilowatts? Okay, so this is due to the fact that the rated output of the transformer is limited by heating in the transformer and hence the losses in the transformer. Okay, so transformer losses will generate heat. Because of that heat only, the transformer rating is in kVA. Okay, why means because for any machine, it is the heat which was generated that will determine how much power it will give at the output. What it indirectly means is when I am winding the winding, I should know what is the output power. Okay, because based on the output power, some amount of current will be flowing in the winding. Okay, and winding will be wound one over the other. Okay, so that means I should create an insulating material, some plastic material or PVC material between winding to winding. Okay, right. You're understanding now? Right. If your heat is more, then this insulating material will melt and your winding will get short circuited. Okay. You're understanding? Right. So that means the losses in the transformer will create heat. So that heat should be withstand by the insulating material which you are using on the coil of the transformer. Okay. Right. Okay. So that's why transformer rating is in, it depends upon the heat, and this heat is coming from the losses, and the losses in the transformer we have already seen. There are two kinds of losses. One is core loss, and the one is copper loss. Core loss depends on the transformer voltage, and copper losses depends upon the transformer current. Okay, right. So it depends upon the voltage, the heat, on the voltage and the current. Okay, so that's why the transformer rating is in kVA, not in kilowatts. If you see the next 2 points, you will understand a little bit better maybe. Right. As these losses depends upon the voltage and current and are almost unaffected by the load power factor, the transformer rating is expressed in kVA, not in kilowatts. Okay. So till now what is I have stated is transformer rating is in kVA. Why it is in kVA means the transformer rating, that means output power, how much it can deliver, it depends upon the heat which was generated in the transformer, and the heat depends upon the losses in the transformer. Losses are of two types, one is core loss and the one is copper loss. Core loss depends upon voltage, copper loss depends upon current. So that's why the transformer rating is depending on kVA. That's why it is given in kVA, not in kilowatts. Okay, if you see the last point, for example, a transformer working at rated voltage. Okay, that means I have connected to 3300 volts, and the rated current is also flowing with load power factor angle 0. What does this mean? Load power factor angle is equals to 0 means what? What kind of load I might have connected on the secondary side?
Resistance.
Load power factor angle is equals to 0. Is it resistance? Power factor, load power factor is equals to 0. I'm saying power factor, not the angle. Okay, load power factor is equals to
Power
0.
factor. Sir, inductor or capacitor? Power factor.
Okay.
Yes, sir, inductor.
So that means it can be a pure inductor I have connected on the secondary side, or a pure capacitor on the secondary side. Okay. Okay. Right. Has rated losses and rated kVA output but delivers 0 power at 2 load. So what does this mean? It means that in the present situation, according to this point, when I am connecting rated voltage and I have connected load on the secondary side, which is purely inductive, let's say. In that scenario, rated current is flowing in the transformer winding. Since rated voltage is there, the core losses are taking place. Rated current is flowing in the transformer, copper losses are also going to take place. When these two are going to take place, the heat is generated in the transformer winding. Okay. Right. But what is the real power supplied on the secondary side? The real power delivered is 0 because real power is confined to the resistance. But in the present circuit, you have a purely reactive load on the secondary. That means the real power is 0, but the reactive power is going to flow in the transformer winding. Okay, right. And kVA is the root of real power square plus reactive power square. Even though real power is equals to 0, reactive power has some magnitude. That means kVA has some finite value. You got it? You are understanding, na?
Yes, sir.
That means even if you don't have resistance at the secondary terminals at the load, which is a power consuming element, you don't have any power consuming element on the secondary side. You have only a pure inductor or pure capacitor. That means no real power consumed by the load, but reactive power is consumed by the load. Okay, and it is delivering the rated reactive power to the load. That means only reactive power is present. That means rated kVA is delivered to the load. Okay, rated kVA is delivered. Okay, rated kilowatts is 0 because it's a purely reactive load. In that situation also, your transformer is running at its rated capacity. So in that scenario, rated copper losses and rated core losses are going to take place. Okay, so that's why transformer rating is in kVA, not in kilowatts. Got it? So that means you can run your transformer at rated kVA, but the power on the secondary side is still 0. Real power on the secondary side is still 0. Got it? That is the reason why we give the transformer rating is in kVA. I hope you got it. Even if you don't get, you just think little bit. If you are connecting a purely reactive load on the secondary side, the real power delivered to the secondary side is 0, but still reactive power is delivered. That means kVA, rated kVA is delivered on the secondary side. Okay, when rated kVA is delivered, the rated copper losses and core loss are going to take place, and heat is getting generated in the transformer. Got it? So that's why the transformer rating is in kVA. It's not in kilowatts. So that's it. So I think time is up now. So we'll discuss in the next class tomorrow. Right. Okay, so you all can leave. So go through this. If you have any doubt, we'll discuss in the next class. Tomorrow we'll meet. Okay. Fine. Thank you. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.